They laughed at her tattered coat. They pointed at her old backpack and whispered. But when that same bag fell open, and a shining medal of honor rolled onto the floor, the laughter turned to silence. You never know who you're trying to humiliate, until fate makes you kneel in shame. Before we begin this heart-touching story, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Goodness Corner, because today's story will remind you that true honor wears no uniform, until it's revealed. The morning was cold, gray, and unfriendly, the kind of morning that makes people hurry past each other without a word. At the city square, a crowd gathered near the entrance of a prestigious café, L'Amour, a place known for its glittering marble floors and an even more glittering clientele. At the corner, a woman stood quietly. Her coat was worn, the sleeves frayed, and her shoes carried the dust of many miles. Her name was Evelyn Carter, though no one cared to ask. She looked around with gentle eyes, holding a small backpack close to her chest, the kind of backpack that had seen both storm and sun. "Excuse me, miss," she asked softly at the counter, "could I have a cup of coffee, please? I think I dropped my wallet earlier. But I'll come back to pay." The young barista smirked, leaning toward his coworker. Sure, another lost wallet story," he said loud enough for the room to hear. The customers turned, amused. A woman in pearls whispered, "Why do they let people like her even walk in here?" Another man in a suit added mockingly, "Maybe she thought this was a shelter." Evelyn smiled faintly. "I'm sorry," she said again, her voice calm despite the humiliation. "I didn't mean to disturb anyone. I just—" But before she could finish, a man in a navy blue jacket, Ryan Blake, the cafe manager, stepped forward. "Ma'am, this is a private cafe. We serve paying customers. If you don't have money, I'm afraid you'll have to leave." Evelyn's face fell. "I understand," she murmured. "Could I at least sit for a minute? My legs—" "No, ma'am," he interrupted sharply. "We're not a charity. Please don't make a scene." She clutched her bag tighter and turned toward the door. But as she moved, her backpack slipped from her hand and hit the ground with a soft thud. The zipper tore open, spilling its contents, a few photographs, an old journal, a folded flag, and something wrapped in velvet cloth. Someone in the crowd chuckled. "Maybe she's hiding her treasures." Ryan bent down to pick up the bag, not to help, but to prove a point. "Let's see what we've got here," he said, unwrapping the velvet as the people leaned closer, their curiosity sharp like knives. Inside, gleaming under the cafe lights, was a medal of honor. The room froze. Ryan's hand trembled. What is this?" Evelyn looked down, her eyes distant. "That belonged to my husband," she said softly. "He gave his life for this country." The pearl-wearing woman gasped. A silence so deep fell that even the coffee machine seemed afraid to hiss. Evelyn knelt, gathering the scattered items with care, the flag, the journal, the medal. Her hands didn't shake, but her voice did when she whispered, "He always said, honor isn't loud, it's lived quietly." She rose slowly. "I didn't come here for pity," she continued. "I just wanted to sit where he used to take me when he came home from duty. He loved this place." Ryan swallowed hard. "Ma'am, your husband, what was his name?" "Captain Daniel Carter," she said. U.S. Army. The barista's face turned pale. He remembered the name from a photo that hung downtown, the young officer who died saving a platoon of soldiers from an ambush overseas. Evelyn continued, her voice heavy with memory. "He never liked attention. When they gave me the medal, I didn't even want it. I just wanted him back. But every year, on his birthday, I visit the places he loved, and sit quietly. That's all." A tear slipped down her cheek, but she quickly wiped it away. Someone whispered, "She's the widow of that Captain Carter." The room that once buzzed with mockery now drowned in silence. Even the manager looked away, ashamed of his earlier tone. Ryan finally spoke, his voice small. "Ma'am, please, allow me to bring you a cup of coffee." "On the house." Evelyn smiled faintly. "Thank you. But no need. I think I'll just take a walk. The air outside feels kinder." She slung the old backpack over her shoulder and turned to leave. But before she reached the door, an elderly man at one of the corner tables stood up. He was tall, wearing a faded military pin on his lapel. "Captain Carter saved my life," he said quietly. Evelyn stopped. "I was there," the man continued, stepping forward with tears in his eyes. "When that ambush happened, your husband ran back into the fire to pull me out. I've been waiting years to thank his family, and today, God sent you here." Evelyn's lips trembled, her eyes wet. You knew him?" The old man nodded, voice breaking. "He talked about you every night. Said he couldn't wait to come home to your cinnamon rolls and laughter. You gave him the strength we all needed." The people around bowed their heads. Even Ryan, now visibly moved, placed the medal gently back in her hands and whispered, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry." Evelyn smiled through her tears. "Don't be. Sometimes people forget that not all heroes wear shiny clothes or loud confidence. Some wear pain quietly, and still walk with grace." The cafe was silent as she left, the bell above the door chiming softly behind her, a sound that echoed longer than anyone expected. Outside, the morning sunlight finally broke through the clouds, resting on her shoulders like a blessing. She walked down the street, the flag peeking out from her bag, fluttering gently in the wind. Inside, no one touched their coffee. The same people who had mocked her moments ago now sat in stunned silence, ashamed, reflective, and changed. The old veteran stood by the window, watching her fade into the crowd. "The world needs to remember people like her," he murmured. Ryan nodded. "She came in asking for coffee," he said softly, "but she left giving us humanity. Never judge someone by what they wear, for the quietest hearts often hold the loudest stories of courage." If this story touched your heart, like this video and subscribe to Goodness Corner for more powerful true life stories.